happened about like he expected. For the first time he stood up to his abusive father. "Worthless. No man will ever want you. You can't cook, you don't clean, you're worse than your mother. I'll never know why I married her in the first place." Every few nights, this was the abuse the old man gave her. Derek would lie in his bed night after night trying to ignore it. He hoped that it would be over soon and knew it would be worse if he tried to help. His sister, Sherry, was none of the things the old man accused her of being. She was probably the nicest person in Sam Houston Middle School. Probably the nicest person in the whole city of Arlington. Even though she said it didn't bother her that much and maintained her happy facade, Derek could see it did bother her. It was changing her. It was wearing her down. "Dump that plate in the dog's food bowl. He deserves it more than you," the old man said, as he pointed towards the corner of the kitchen where JR's bowl sat. JR was nowhere to be found. He didn't like the yelling either. Sherry left the table, walked to the corner and scraped the macaroni and cheese in the dog food bowl, then went to the sink to wash her plate. Derek could tell that it was going to be a bad night for her, so he washed all the dishes beforehand so that it wouldn't be part of her punishment. The old man, seeing that there were no dishes for her to wash, he relented. "Go to bed before you screw something else up. I'm tired of seeing your worthless face." Though he had been trying not to listen, Derek heard every word. He heard Sherry slip into her room, closing the door quietly, trying not to set the old man off any further. Derek wanted to go check on her, but he had to wait until the old man, their father, got settled in front of the TV. This is often where he would pass out for the night. Fortunately, he was a workaholic and would be gone in the morning before the sun came up, and before Derek and Sherry awoke for school. It wasn't always this way. Back when their mother was living, their dad had a short temper from time to time, but Grace Finston kept him in line. She was a strong Christian woman. She had high expectations for him and for her children. The old man lived up to her expectations most of the time. He was a decent dad. He was a family man when he wasn't working. He would take Sherry and Derek fishing some on the weekends. He loved to take them camping, although he wasn't very good at it. It was usually a weekend of leaking tents and burned food, but he tried. That is, until Grace got sick. Derek could hear Sherry crying quietly through the thin wall separating their rooms. He left his room and eased into the kitchen and quietly, stealthily grabbed a roll from a Ziploc bag and went to Sherry's room. By this time, the TV was turned up. He could hear the sound of one of the late-night talk show hosts doing their opening monologue. The old man, spirits in hand, was starting to fade. Derek didn't have to be as quiet now, but still, he eased the door to Sherry's room open and slipped in. She was sitting cross-legged at the head of the bed, holding Tubby, a stuffed teddy bear, one of the last gifts she ever received from her mother. Grace had picked it up at the gift shop after one of her many chemo treatments. Quickly, Sherry straightened up and tried to hide her crying red eyes. "You don't have to hide it from me. I could hear you through the wall," Derek said as he sat down. "I'm so sorry. I wish he would direct all of that towards me." He paused for a moment. "I brought you a roll." He stretched out his arm and handed it to her as he sat on the edge of the bed. She took the roll. Holding it in both hands, she looked down and stared. Her mind was racing with anger, fear, and sympathy. She desperately tried to line her emotions up in an order that would bring her back to happiness, to joy, to a smile. Derek sat there, thinking back to the day his mother died. She fought for her life. At one point, they thought she had beaten it, but the cancer came back. The cancer killed her, and it was still killing their family. Derek's dad took her to every appointment. He spent extra time with her, and near the end, he used every vacation day and every favor from every friend to spend the most time he could with her. He fought alongside her every step of the way. But then she died, and he died too. It was like all of the best parts of his life force went in the grave with her. Why does he do that to me and say those things? And not just about me. Why does he say things about Mom? Sherry said, trying to maintain a whisper but progressively getting louder as the sentence went on, her tears starting to flow freely again. I know I'm not worthless, and I don't think Dad even believes what he is saying. It's just meanness. He's just being mean to me. Why? What did I do? Derek fought the urge to go straight in for a hug. Sherry hated sympathy. He took a deep breath. Not really knowing how to answer, he just started to speak. I know you're not worthless. I almost think that Dad is angry at life because we lost Mom. I think on some level he's mad at Mom for leaving. He just takes it out on you for some reason." "But why?" she said. Her eyes were now showing the full depth of the pain and hurt that she was feeling. She loved her father, but she also knew that this abuse was driving her further and further away from who she was and whom she wanted to be. Guilt was beginning to take hold of her. She could tell that she was starting to feel worthless. Derek could see it. He could see it long before she did. He kept telling himself that it would be worse if he intervened. However, he already knew that she had had enough and something had to be done. "I really don't know why, but I can see what it's doing to you. I can see how it's affecting you little by little. I had hoped and prayed that he would find his way back to us. It's been almost 3 years and he still acts like he did the day after the funeral. I truly feel sorry for him." Pausing for a moment, trying to convince himself to say what he knew he had to say. "I'm not going to let him abuse you anymore. He is supposed to protect us and he has failed, so I'm going to protect us from now on. I'm going to stop him from hurting you. You're going to make things worse." "It's fine, I can take it," Sherry said as her worry filled the air. She instantly cleaned up her eyes to put on a strong front. Derek raised his chin and said, "Maybe it will make things worse, I don't know," glancing over at a picture on the nightstand of Grace and Sherry making funny faces. "But Mom used to say, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. If it gets worse, let it, but it will be on me from now on. I promise it won't be worse on you. I'll always come to your defense." He was done talking about it. Sherry tried to say something else, but she recognized that he had made his mind up. She knew she wasn't going to change his mind. Derek slid over closer to her and gave his sister a big brotherly bear hug. He could tell she was worried, however. Just talking about it always made her feel better. They spent many nights just talking, not just about the old man, but also about their mom, school, and friends. They talked about a boy that Sherry had a crush on. Derek freaked out so bad about it that she kept those things to herself now. He released the hug and stood up. "Eat the roll, I'll see you in the morning," he said as he turned to walk away. "Thanks, Dee." She paused and then said, "Defense." He looked back at her and smiled. She took a bite of the roll as he walked out and back to his room. Defense. I hadn't heard that name in almost 3 years. Defense was a name that his mother had given him at a young age because he was so protective of his sister. Sherry called him Dee and had done so her whole life. His mother was the one that took the first part of their last name and turned it into Defense. Derek turned the light off and settled into bed. His mind kept playing scenarios over and over of what was going to happen when he intervened. It was terrifying. He didn't want to oppose the old man. The abuse has to stop, and it's up to me. 2 weeks had gone by since the last time the old man lashed out. Derek had been making sure to eat slowly so that Sherry was not alone with the old man. It had worked so far, but everything was about to change. Of all the days this could have happened on, it had to be almost 3 years to the day since Grace died. As difficult as this day was anyway, the old man started in on Sherry. First it was her shirt that he didn't like, then it was her hair. "You need to get that ugly mop cut. I bet your friends can't stand looking at you. When's the last time you washed it?" The old man scowled. "I wash it every day, Dad," Sherry said. "Don't get smart with me. You're not going to backtalk me and you're not going to lie to me," he barked back at her. "She's not lying," Derek interjected. "You need to leave her alone." He could see the wave of anger come over the old man as his face turned red. "You don't get to talk back to me either. Go to your room." The old man was nearly yelling now. Derek looked his father right in the eyes and said, "No, not until you leave her alone." The old man stood up and put both hands on the table. He was looking for the words to say. Derek and Sherry sat there, waiting. They were in new territory now. Until now, they really hadn't taken a stand against him. They were not sure what was going to happen. But right then, as they looked in horror, the old man leaned to the left and using his right arm, in one fatal swoop he cleared the entire table of every plate, bowl, fork, and even the napkins. Every single item that was on the table crashed onto the floor and the nearby back door. Sherry and Derek stood up immediately. The old man looked at Sherry and with restrained anger said, "Go to your room." She looked at him for a second and then glanced at the floor and back to Derek, backed away and went to her room. As soon as Sherry was out of sight, the old man reached out and grabbed Derek by the shirt and pulled him around the table. Nose to nose, they stared at each other. The old man stared directly into Derek's eyes. "What did you say to me, boy? You telling me to leave my daughter alone. I will discipline how I see fit. This is my house and my rules. Don't you ever talk to me that way again." Letting go of his shirt, the old man pushed Derek back and turned to walk away. Derek, full of confidence, said, "I will." The old man turned back. "What did you—" But Derek interrupted. "I will do whatever is necessary and say whatever needs to be said to protect Sherry from you." The old man pushed Derek back towards the living room and said, "She don't need protecting from me." He pushed Derek again. "And you're not going to stay in this house," he pushed again, "talking to me this way." By now, Derek was pushed into the corner, the old man continued. "As a matter of fact, you can pack your crap and leave. Actually," he was bearing down on Derek's throat, "I paid for all that crap. You can just leave." "No," Derek said defiantly. The old man glaring. "What did you say?" Louder this time. Derek yelled, "No!" Then the old man's face turned almost evil with a slight grin on his face. "Say it one more time, I dare you." This time Derek answered with a shove. "No!"